Hello, welcome back to another track guide. This week in the Porsche GT4 on Branch Hatch Grand Prix layout. Last week we did the McLaren, this week it's another car. And we're starting the lap right here on the left side, heading towards the first braking zone, which is starting right in front of the 100 meter board. And you will get a right hander and you will bleed off the brakes. And once you bleed off the brakes, we shift back to third gear. And we let the car roll into the camber, and we want to be as close as possible to the curb without hitting it. And once we're in the middle of the corner, we start building up the throttle, and since it's a downhill part, the downforce will do its job and will push the car down on the tarmac. Even so, don't be afraid to take different lines in this one, and also try to go on the throttle as soon as possible to get as much speed out of it. Heading towards the hairpin, and my brake marker is on the left hand, and once I pass this iron fence, I start braking in. A very high brake pressure, almost 90%, almost 100%, bleeding it off and going towards the curb. Clip the curb a little bit and be very smooth on this part. Try to open up the steering wheel as soon as possible. And don't try to hit this curb too much because it will wash you out to the left. Build up the throttle and open up the steering wheel to avoid the traction control kicking in. Use this coupled section on the left side and go all the way to the right. And once you're on the right, watch out that you don't clip the grass on this part, because if you clip the grass, you will spin out. I start braking right at the 50 meter mark. So braking in, half pressure, clip the curb a little bit and watch out that you don't go over the curb because you will lose speed when you do so. Hit this curb, use the coupled section again and turn off the coupled section as soon as possible because of the off track, which is on the right side. Once you're heading towards the most difficult corner of the track, this corner has a lot of camber on the left side. You want to use that and you want to search for the apex the whole time. So we're braking right after the 50 meter mark, bleeding off, half throttle of half brake pressure, still bleeding it off, and then shift back to third gear and look for this camber on the left. And once you hit the camber, you build up the throttle again. I'm in third gear at this moment, but you might want to shift back to second if you can't get the car to turn enough. And then it will be a really short shift. So you shift back to second and almost immediately shift up to third again. But in this, you preferably want to be in third. So build up the throttle, watch out that you don't go over the right of the curbstone because it will send you off to the left barrier. Stay right and position yourself to the left for the upcoming right-hander. And this section which is coming up are a lot of fast right-handers, which also can be cut quite a bit. So I'm using the barriers, the ending of the barriers for my brake markers. So I'm passing this barrier on the right, and once I pass it, I start braking. And again, bleeding off the brakes, trail braking, and then building up the throttle again. And once you enter this corner, you see me staying in fifth gear for quite a while, but then shift back to fourth so you get the car to turn properly. Build up the throttle. Obviously, don't go too wide on the left. And once you pass this barrier on the left, you start braking again and trail braking it in, bleeding off the brakes, building up the throttle, and cut the course a bit so you utilize the whole track. Once you're out of the corner, build up the throttle and use the coupled section on the left to gain as much speed as possible. Stay left for the best part of this corner. And once you pass the 50 meter mark, once you pass this barrier, you start braking again and you cut the course and you stay in fourth gear. Once you do this, you see me taking a very shallow line as well, but still there's a lot of margin here for not getting an off track, and you want to use that to throw the car around the corner, and it will send you off to the left. And be very safe here and gentle. You don't want to overdo it on the left side. If you do so and you clip the grass, it will send you to the right. So you're better off being a little bit more safe on this one than overdoing it. Try to go to the right as soon as possible and start braking quite a bit before the 50-meter mark. You want to do this because there's camber on the left and you want to throw the car in onto that camber. And if you run that camber, you can build up the throttle quite fast. If you're braking at the 50-meter mark, it will send you on the outside of the camber, which is slower and will send you off to the right as well. So you brake in early, go into the camber, get the car on the curb, the left front on that curb, and build up the throttle quite soon. Start opening up the steering wheel, go to the left for the penultimate corner. And again, there's a barrier on the left, which is my brake marker, and it's right there. It's the ending of it. So once you pass that, you brake quite hard, shift back to third gear, and build up the throttle nicely here. If you go on the throttle too soon, the car will either understeer or oversteer, one of both, towards the left side. And you want to build it up and avoid the traction control kicking in, go all the way to the left to open up the steering wheel, shift, turn back to the right, and then you go towards the line and you finished the lap. The thing was, I did quite a couple of laps before I got the swing of it, and especially the left-hander going up towards the back straight. You have to play with that and be very careful on it. If you're overdoing that corner, you will lose a lot of time, and since this is a hot lap, obviously, overtaking on this track is quite hard, so you really want to use the best lap for quali so you don't get overtaken, and defending here is quite easy. So this was the lap. As always, send me a PM or DM or whatever for if you want the telemetry. So the lap I did was a 128.526. I don't know why this number is a 319, but that is incorrect. I did the lap on 25 degrees. So anyway, like, subscribe, everything, you know. In case of any questions, just leave a comment as well. Catch you guys later.